Hey everybody, my name is Shannon Chapman. I want to tell you a little bit of my story. When I was 7 years old, my parents went out of town and they came back in town after a little conference they were at, and I was walking up the front steps to my house and my parents asked me, "Hey, you seem to be kind of struggling walking up those stairs." And to be honest with you, I really didn't notice anything, and so I just kind of went back inside the house and did my normal routine as a 7-year-old kid. But as the days progressed, my energy level began to drop, and I didn't really, again at 7, I couldn't really formulate how I was really feeling, but my parents began to just kind of watch a very active 7-year-old little boy who used to play in the yard, ride his bike, jump on the trampoline, just kind of lose interest in those things. And so I began to develop a rash on my hands, and so my parents took me to a doctor, and this doctor came and kind of checked me out, looked at this rash, and I never forget the doctor told me, he said, "Hey, I want you to, don't let me push your hand down." And so I would hold my hand like this, and he would push, and my hand would just go straight down. He said, "Don't let me push it up." And he just began to push my hand straight up, and he left the room, and then he came back, I don't know, maybe 5-10 minutes later, and he called my dad out into the hallway, and he said, "I think that your son has a muscle disease called dermatomyositis. And this disease is an autoimmune disease. As a kid, I used to have strep throat all the time, and they really feel like maybe that's kind of caused a little bit of that, just my immune system being really weak." But he informed my dad that I needed to go get some blood work done. So we went downtown Chattanooga to a little lab and had some blood work done, and sure enough, it came back that my levels really indicated that I had this muscle disease. And so that began a 2-year journey of really, again, me being a little boy, but my parents really began to understand how to trust God in the midst of a storm. How do you trust God when you're praying for something, but you don't see the answer to that prayer? I was a boy that grew up playing baseball. I played basketball. I rode my bike. I jumped on the trampoline. I played with all the kids, and for a 2-year period of time, I had my blood tested every 2 weeks, and I was on steroids every day. I spent numerous days in Emory Hospital in Atlanta, Georgia, and really come to find out there was really no cure for this disease. And it was really hard, on me as well, but, it was so bad, and I don't think, sometimes people don't understand how this disease really affects you, but if I was laying, on my back on the floor, I could not get out of the floor on my own. I remember going to an amusement park as a kid and literally being pushed around the whole amusement park in a wheelchair. And I could get out of the wheelchair, kind of walk into the ride, but my energy level, all of my muscles, nothing was working properly. And, really praying, and my parents, we believe that Jesus is still a God who heals. We believe that with all of our heart. And, just trying to stay, faithful to His Word. And then we went to church one day, and it was about 2 years later, somebody just felt like God impressed on their heart that they should gather around me and just pray for me. So they gathered around and they prayed for me, and I was not healed instantaneously. It wasn't like, man, I'm 100% better right now. But what began to happen is I continued to get my blood work every 2 weeks like I always had done. All of a sudden my numbers began to get better. And so over the next few weeks, few months, all of a sudden, all of the levels in my blood began to show improvement. So we went back down to Emory Hospital in Atlanta, Georgia, and just really blown away that we met with a doctor, and she said, "There's only one way this is really working, and that is the fact that God has healed your son." And so here I am riding my bike on the Natchez Trace for a wonderful ministry called Prison and Prevention. And right before I came, had a conversation with my parents, and it was just a reminder of God's healing touch on my life. Here I am, Lord willing, tomorrow, getting ready to ride 454 miles on my bike. And I remember just so vividly as a kid looking at my bike still in the garage and wanting to ride it, but I couldn't because physically I was unable to. And I just want to encourage you, just, whatever you're going through, I know the storm sometimes seems so out of control, but in the midst of that storm, Jesus is there. He's right there. He touched me. He can heal you. And again, prison prevention ministry has been just an awesome thing to be a part of on this ride. They're really changing kids' lives in the school districts with doing prison tours and then sharing the faith. And I'm here today to let you know that I'm a miracle. And it's really an honor to be a part of this, and I cannot wait to finish this ride tomorrow and look back on this and say, you know what, God, here I was, as a little boy, 2 years going through this. I didn't get my miracle overnight. I had to walk it out and continue to believe. But God, you healed me. And now I have 4 kids of my own, getting ready to adopt one, which will give us 5 kids. We're getting ready to adopt one from Africa. And just blows me away as I see my kids run around of what that must have been like for my parents and what that really was like for me as a kid. And so I'm here to let you know, God healed me. He can heal you. Keep your faith strong. Love being a part of what I'm doing right now here at the Natchez Trace with Prison and Prevention Ministry. Thank you for letting me share my story.